Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's GBay99. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today we're back with another League of Legends video where today I want to take some time to talk to you about the upcoming preseason changes. Namely, I want to take some time to address a lot of the incoming jungle stuff. A lot of you guys have seen the changes. You've seen on other YouTube channels people discussing the preseason. We've done it a little bit ourselves with the plants that are coming. To be specific, I'm talking about the upcoming plants being added to the jungle as well as the removal of smite buffs. I think both of these changes coincide with each other. I think they're kind of linked, and I think they might be one of the bigger mistakes that Riot is making. Riot has been on point with so much lately. They're on point with their decision to release the replay system, to have sandbox mode and everything. There is so much good that they're doing, but this is something that really grinds my gears. And today I want to take some time to talk about not just that I think these are bad decisions, but why it is that I think Riot is making a little bit of a mistake with this major gameplay change to League of Legends. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a hypothetical situation of if I was some person that was in charge of overseeing all the preseason changes in League of Legends. These are the three major things that I would want to focus on when taking a look at stuff to change. The number one thing I would probably take a look at if I was in this position would be dead content first and foremost. Now, dead content is a phrase that is most often uttered in the world of RuneScape, actually, rather than League of Legends. So for those of you guys, we've talked about RuneScape a number of times on the YouTube channel before, but any of you unfamiliar with the game, RuneScape is an old school MMO where you don't have classes, you just have a bunch of different skills, 30 or so different skills that you can choose to level however you want, level them 1 to 99, and build your character however you want. When leveling up a skill, you typically start off with a single way to train it, and then as you train your skill, as you level it up, you will unlock more and more different ways to train that have better and better experience rates depending on the skill that you're talking about. And dead content comes in when you suddenly get an item or when you unlock an item or leveling method that doesn't have any use to you because there's always better options out there. So let's go ahead and take a look at a single skill like agility. Agility is the skill that you level up if you want to increase your run energy. Your run energy is what you use to run, to move around in the game, and your run energy is depleted from 100% to 0 as you run. When you get to 0, you have to walk around as you replenish your energy, but if you have a higher and higher agility, then you'll be able to run longer before you run out of energy. So it's a pretty useful skill for the most part. Now, training it involves running around these agility courses, rooftop courses, or various little playground type areas where your character runs around them. As they complete a lap, they get a bunch of agility experience along with a little bit of agility experience every single time you do an obstacle. Anyway, when you're leveling this skill and you hit around 50, you run into a piece of dead content. When you hit level 47, you're able to use the Wilderness Agility course. You have to use an item called a Summer Pie to boost your agility to get into the course, but the course only requires a level of 49 to complete the course, so once you get around 49, or if you use that Summer Pie to boost your agility level above it, then you can just run the course as much as possible, and the first two levels to get yourself to 49 are very, very quickly when you're going from only 47. Anyway, this course gives fantastic experience rates. You will get around 45,000 experience every hour you are training here. If you're training with around perfect ticks, if you're training at the most efficient without AFKing or messing up a little bit, you will get 45,000 experience, or maybe 35,000 experience if you're a little bit lazier. Now, as you're training here, once you hit level 50, you'll unlock the option to use another course called the Falador Rooftop Agility course, which is another agility course that you can use, and you would think that you just unlocked a better option. You know, you've been training at the Wilderness course for around 3 or 4 levels or whatever. Once you hit level 50, you unlock a new option to go use the Falador course. You would think that it gives the same or better experience rates than the Wilderness course, but when you're training at the Falador Rooftop course, you get 26.8k experience per hour compared to the 45 you're getting at the Wilderness course. That is so much worse for something that requires more of you. It doesn't make sense for you to ever use the Falador Rooftop course when the Wilderness course is so much better. That effectively makes Falador Rooftop dead content. Now, League of Legends is obviously a much different game than RuneScape. RuneScape being an MMO where everything we just talked about was leveling your character. Leveling in League of Legends happens the exact same for every character on the map, apart from maybe the jungle, if you want to talk about jungling experience being different than lane experience. But anyway, in League of Legends, dead content can still exist. Dead content can crop up in the runes and masteries, for runes and masteries that are never used because something is always better, or more importantly, items. There are some items in the game that are just worse than other items out there. They're not efficient to build. Currently, stuff like Ginsu's or Blade of the Ruined King isn't quite as good as other options out there, maybe Wit's End. There are certain items out there that you guys just don't see a lot of people build because they're turning into dead content with better options always out there. Now, for the most part, Riot has actually been really good about removing dead content or changing it. Like, Flash was something that was making every other summoner spell dead content for the most part back in Season 1, back when you could still flash to dodge any projectile that was headed towards your character in mid-flight. Flashing would dodge all those projectiles. That was something that was kind of making every other summoner spell feel useless, so Riot nerfed that, and you can look at a lot of other items in the past that had issues that Riot would rework to make them relevant again. Riot even removed Dominion because it was effectively dead content, so dead content isn't something that Riot has too much trouble with for the most part when looking at League of Legends, apart from a few of these items that are only built in very specific situations. Now, going back to our hypothetical question here, if I was in this position of power at Riot where I was taking a look at gameplay and reworking it for the preseason, then there would be a couple other things that I would look to do. I would also, of course, look to rework or remove any sort of toxic gameplay. This is something that's always going to be arguable, but items like Heart of Gold or DFG in the past that Riot removed because they didn't think that it was healthy for the game of League of Legends as a whole, if there's anything like that that's currently in the game, I would obviously want to look to remove or change that. And then I would also want to add new things. But the key to adding new things is you would want to add something that encourages the kind of gameplay that the game already has while just adding a new level of depth. A really good example of this would probably be the Elemental Drakes, actually, which everyone hates the Elemental Drakes with how much randomness and RNG they add to the game, but they actually do a really good job of expanding something that we already know and understand, the idea of fighting for dragon. This just adds a new level of urgency if it's a dragon that's really important or really good, something like an Infernal Drake that will really help your team out a lot, or something that you can maybe delay going for a little bit if you see that it's only an Air Drake and you can go take another more important objective like the first Tower Blood. So why am I talking about all this? Well, let's take a look at these jungle changes again. Removing smite buffs and adding plants to the game. These go against everything that I just mentioned. These go against absolutely everything that I just said would be a good reason to make a change in the preseason. Removing smite buffs do not fall into any of these categories, and adding plants does not as well. When you're removing smite buffs, you're removing something that's consistent, that's not RNG. You're removing something that adds a level of depth to the game where you're thinking about when you're going to use smite. Are you going to use smite on the Raptors to see if there's going to be a ward in the lane that you gank, or are you going to save it so you can use the blue smite on your opponent to slow them and go for a kill? That level of depth and level of that little extra thought that you have to put into jungling is now gone. And you added plants in the game instead. You added this RNG-based gimmick, which doesn't really seem that healthy for the game. I'll be honest, I don't actually have a PvE account myself, which is one of the reasons you guys never see PvE gameplay from me, but I can't really take a look at these myself on the PvE and test them out to say whether or not I think they're good or bad, but I've been doing my best to watch every single YouTuber that I can that has PvE gameplay, and every instance that I see someone using a plant, it never seems like it's adding any level of depth to the game. It's just a convenience that pops up randomly that you can now exploit, that you can use to your advantage to get away when you otherwise would have died, to mitigate a mistake that you probably already made. Taking a look at these changes really makes me feel like they're the worst decision Riot could possibly make. When you're removing smite buffs, you aren't removing them because they're dead content, you aren't removing them because they're toxic gameplay or anything that needs to be removed, and you aren't adding plants because they encourage the kind of gameplay that already exists in League of Legends. They don't encourage something that we already understand. They're adding a gimmick that doesn't feel like it's going to gel very well from what I've seen and from what I understand looking at the changes. I understand that the jungle does need to be kept fresh, seeing as when you're playing jungle, you aren't against someone in laning phase that's always changing. You know, when you're playing Aurelia top lane, play Aurelia a million times. It's very exciting because you're playing against someone different in a laning phase every single time. You don't get that same level of freshness when you're just jungling PvE against the monsters in the jungle. So that's something that's a role that needs to be changed up frequently to keep it fresh and keep it exciting and keep things different and new for people to play. But at the same time, this doesn't seem like it's adding any sort of positive change to the game. It seems like it's just making a very, very big mistake. As is my understanding, the guy that's behind these jungle changes is a Rioter that's Silver 4 that only has like 300 ranked games played. So maybe it's not entirely his fault that he doesn't quite understand all this stuff, but at the same time, maybe he isn't the one that should be in charge of these changes. I really don't think they're going to be that good or healthy for the game. Some of you guys are probably higher rated than he is and might be able to make a better call on this, but anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed watching today's video. Feel free to leave a like or leave a comment or something in the comments down below and give me your own feedback on whether or not you agree or disagree with my opinion. Maybe junglers out there are really excited for the plants, but I really think they're adding a level of gimmickiness and a level of gameplay that doesn't seem like it really fits in League of Legends or adds to gameplay that we already love and understand. But anyway, you guys all know how I feel on it. You can let me know how you feel down there below. I'll see you all in tomorrow's video, but until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.